So the May job report just came out. If you just looked at the headlines, you might think, wow, we're actually doing better than we thought. The job growth looks pretty good. Unemployment doesn't seem to be getting worse. But there's actually a problem here. The headline number is actually hiding what's going on underneath the surface with the US economy. This doesn't mean that the job report is fake by any means. The jobs are in fact real, but the way the numbers are being interpreted is pretty misleading. A lot of economists actually focus on non-farm payroll increases. People are just looking at the total number of jobs added, but a lot of times people don't delve into what sectors those jobs are being added in, and that distinction really matters a lot here. So let's start with the fact that the May jobs report was stronger than a lot of us expected. Many analysts are saying, well, that means that the economy is actually pretty hot right now. Some are even suggesting that this could lead the Fed to keep interest rates where they are. For instance, CNBC's Steve Weisman is framing this in a way that this is evidence that the economy is stronger than policymakers actually expected. So this argument goes basically like this. The interest rates are already restrictive, the economy is still creating jobs, and unemployment remains relatively low. Then maybe the labor market is stronger than we thought. It seems reasonable, but I think it's oversimplified. What's really important is where are these jobs being created? Because everybody in the US does not work in the same sector. And that's where the positive spin on this kind of falls apart a little bit. So if you actually look at the data, healthcare is still propping up the labor market. So since early 2025, healthcare and social assistance have added roughly 900,000 jobs. At the same time, you know what the rest of the economy is doing? It lost about 170,000 jobs. These figures may not be exact numbers and may be revised a little bit over time, but unemployment data is always getting revised. So you have to focus more on the trend over time rather than just the latest job numbers. The trend is actually unmistakable here, and this has been going on for months. Healthcare is still hiring aggressively, social assistance is expanding, but large parts of the private sector are in trouble. And the thing is, healthcare behaves differently than pretty much every other aspect of the economy because hospitals do not hire nurses when the rates are low. Assisted living facilities don't care about how many products people are buying. This is all based on demographics. We have an aging population, which is a big part of this. So this is leading to chronic staffing shortages, government reimbursement systems, long-term healthcare demand. So drawing conclusions about the economy from just overall job growth when the vast majority of it is in healthcare, which has nothing to do with the economy and actually has more to do with demographics, doesn't make sense here. People are taking a number, which is a real number in total jobs, but they're spinning it in a way that fools the average person who doesn't have time to research this stuff. When you have pretty much one major category that's leading to all the job growth and most other categories are falling, that is not a sign of a healthy economy. That is the sign of a fragile economy. And at the exact same time that all these healthcare jobs are being added, guess what else is happening? Technology companies are laying people off at a remarkable pace right now. In fact, according to data that was compiled by TrueUp, tens of thousands of tech workers are being laid off every single month this year. And this isn't like failing companies. These are some of the biggest tech company names in the world. We're talking Intel, Oracle, Amazon, etc. In fact, March alone had over 50,000 employees laid off. May added another 34,000 plus tech employees laid off as well. And these are highly profitable companies. Profits are going up, but tech layoffs are also going up. They no longer need more manpower to increase profits because of AI. So that's why the stock market keeps rising and tech layoffs keep rising at the same time, when that's normally not how the economy works. On top of the strong revenue growth that these companies are reporting, they're investing billions of dollars in AI infrastructure, as we know. And speaking of AI, there are recent reports that artificial intelligence has now become the leading reason for layoffs. That doesn't necessarily mean every single layoff was because of AI, but it's just the most common cause now, or the most cited cause at least. Now, companies restructure all the time, of course. They cut costs, they streamline operations, they slow down their hiring. There are usually a lot of factors involved when this happens. But again, we're looking at the trend here. Executives are thinking about things differently than they used to. AI is not just a productivity tool, it's a way for them to reduce future labor needs. And that change does not always show up through mass layoffs. And this can actually show up in jobs that never get posted in the first place. This could show up as positions that never get filled. In fact, there's been a big ghost job problem as well. You not only have layoffs, you have more ghost jobs, and you have less hiring overall, especially for tech-related jobs. So a role that used to require 10 people now might require like 5 or 6. So that's why this economy feels so much worse than these positive numbers that are being put out right now. If you go through and look at the comments on all these videos and these Reddit posts about, well, look how strong the economy looks because of the job numbers and because of unemployment not going up. All the comments are basically saying, yeah, right, we don't believe any of this. This is BS. Everyone is feeling things tightening. People are struggling to get jobs. Inflation is getting worse. You cannot just say, oh, well, we added 150,000 jobs this month, so everything's fine, despite what you feel. Opportunities are becoming harder to find for most people. If you're like a nurse in Texas, you may have a bunch of job offers available. If you're a software engineer in California, you may be struggling because you're competing with hundreds of people for every job listing. And a recent college graduate may have to spend months and months searching for their first job. These job numbers that are being posted all over the place, trying to fool you into believing things are great, are just averages that are putting everything together while one side is propping up all the numbers, which is healthcare. So when you feel like the economy is bad and you see these numbers trying to tell you it's good, that's why. And it's sad when you see talking heads on major news networks coming on there who are supposed to be experts talking about how positive this looks when they have to know that is not the whole story. A labor market that's being driven by private sector hiring is totally different from a labor market that's being primarily powered by healthcare. If the labor market was being powered by private sector hiring, you see a growing and healthy economy. You see expanding opportunities. When you see healthcare and social assistance propping up the job numbers, while everything else is seemingly going down, you actually see structural weakness that's being masked by a few hot industries. And those hot industries, again, have nothing to do with the economy. They have to do with the aging demographic. So career opportunities can become narrower for millions of people in the US, but the total job numbers can still look pretty good. Both things can actually be true, but you can't mislead the public into thinking that the economy itself is actually strong just because of the total job numbers. It's not about how many total jobs exist, it's about where these jobs exist. Where is the job growth coming from? If we all worked in the same sector, then yeah, we can just look at the total number and know what's going on. But we don't. Not everybody works in healthcare and hospitality. And you can't just shift gears from a software developer to a nurse overnight either. We should not be having investors and policymakers asking, well, how many total jobs are being created? They should be asking, is job growth being too concentrated? In other words, the way we report jobs right now is actually doing us a disservice and fooling people into thinking it's actually okay. The way jobs are reported and unemployment is reported does not tell you even close to the whole story. So no, when you feel like the economy is getting worse for you and your family and your friends, you're not crazy. The job numbers that are being reported are not necessarily fake either. Both can actually be true because, as I said, where the job growth is coming from is actually more important to see how the economy is actually doing. Context is very important here, and these headlines are leaving out a lot of the context. And unfortunately, there may be a lot of selfish reasons for that being done.